Hello, this is Erin teaming up with Cherry Tree Beads, and I'm bringing you another fun tutorial. Today we're going to take this side drilled bead and make a bail for the chain to go through. This is going to be a woven bail. We will be using 20 gauge for this base wire. I cut a 10-inch piece, threaded it through, and brought it up straight. And we'll be using 26 gauge wire to weave the bail. You can also use 28 gauge, but I prefer using 26. Some tools we'll be using today are chain nose pliers, some flush cutters, or any old wire cutters you have, and any round nose pliers in case you want to put any swirls to finish off this design. Not sure if we'll be doing that today. We'll just play it by ear and see how it goes. One thing that's really great about wire wrapping is that you never really know what's going to happen until you're midway through the project, and sometimes the wire tells you what it wants to do. It's definitely something that you have to be ready to adjust as you go to make sure that your design turns out great. You can't be too set on what you want. You have to be flexible. You also will want to have a dowel of some sort. You can use the tip of a paintbrush or a pencil, but this is really helpful for making the bend around and having a nice even bail. Alright, so to start, we're going to take our 26 gauge wire and just start wrapping around this top wire. I'm going to wrap it around once, bring it back up over the top, bring it through the center, and up under the bottom wire. Wrapping around, coming back, going through the middle, and coming back up underneath. You want to make sure that these two wires stay separated because they'll have a tendency to cross and taper, and you don't want that. You want to keep an even spacing. I'm going to bring that around, go back through the middle, and just make sure you're keeping those separated. You also want to make sure you don't get any kinks like this just happened. You can straighten out those kinks as they happen with your pliers. Let's see, make sure I stay in frame here. Going up and over, back down through the middle. So I do one, and then two, and then go back to the next side, and see how the spacing then gives us a nice little weave there. If you want, you can put more wraps around each, and that will put a bigger spacing in between these crisscrossed wires here. So if I wanted to go again, I could wrap around again and go back through, and it would leave a larger space in between these two here. And just give a little bit more visual interest if you like that more open spaced look. It's totally up to you. That's what's so fun about wire weaving, because you just have all the options, and it's really fun to play around and experiment and see what these things will look like when you switch it up just a little bit. As we go, we can use our chain nose pliers, or these are tweezer nose pliers, to just push it down. This is going to be a nice wide statement bail, and it's actually much easier to make a nice wide bail like this, to just keep it uniform going all the way up. It makes it much easier to bring it back over and around. If you have a tapered bail, that gets a little tricky, so this is why I'm showing you this one first, because it's much easier to keep a uniform line than to taper in or taper out and then have to taper back in again. That's a little trickier. And I actually prefer the look of a wide bail going all the way around. See how my wires want to keep coming together? Don't let that happen. I just like to keep sticking my finger in the center there and just keep the right width. So we're coming up from under, going over, under the top wire, back around, doing that again, and then coming under to the bottom wire. It's quite repetitive, which makes wire weaving so relaxing, because once you know what you're doing, you can just watch a movie while you're doing it, or listen to a book. It can be very relaxing. Just keeping those pushed down, keeping my wires from crossing. And we'll want to weave like this for 2 centimeters. Alright, so we've woven for 2 centimeters. And now we need to cut and tuck in the extra wire. So, I want to cut quite close, leaving just enough to be able to tuck that in. Whoops, let's use finer tipped pliers so we can see. And you want to pinch and rotate to really get that flush against the wire so that nothing is going to catch. And do the same with this wire up here. Cutting with the flush side against so we have nothing poking. And using our pliers. Let's see if we can focus that close. To pinch and rotate. There, you can see a little bit better that time. Push it down once more. Alright. And now we'll use that dowel or paintbrush or pencil, whatever is nice and small, to put a bend in your bail. And this just makes it so easy to keep everything uniform. Like that. We're going to do something that I really enjoy, which is to bring the wires up over either side, bring them across, crisscross them, and really you can get creative from here and do all kinds of things. I personally enjoy doing something like this, where I hold it with my thumb, make sure that I'm focusing on the right thing here. So I'm holding the crisscross with my thumb, bringing this wire across this way, bringing the other wire the opposite direction, holding it center with my thumb. And we just want to keep bringing the 2 wires around. You could stop here because they are connected, or you could keep spiraling and it ends up looking really beautiful. See that? And you can really control how big the spiral will be from this point. It's quite lovely. You can just keep going around, stop wherever you like. I kind of want the spiral to be as big as our bail here. So I'm going to bring this last one around here, and this last one here. And now we want to take these wires and tuck them in so it's nice and secure. We're just going to tuck them into the bail here. So we're going to take this first one, make a cut right about there, using our chain nose pliers to tuck it in. You want to hold this with your thumb because you don't want to mess up that beautiful spiral you just made. Be careful not to push this end of the plier into the wire because you'll nick it. So you want to put most of your pressure on this, tucking it into the bail because nobody's going to see that part. But now it's nice and tucked in and it's not going to snag on whatever chain you put through this. Now, with this one, you could get more creative and make a swirl somewhere, but I think I want to keep this a little bit more minimal and kind of follow what we did with this other one and tuck it in. You can also add beads onto this wire as you're going if you want more detail. That would look really lovely as well. Come on. There we go. Snipping and tucking in these wires again, holding the swirl in place and twisting this wire into place, trying not to squeeze too tightly on the wire that's in the front because you don't want to scratch anything. And pinching all of that down and secure. There we are. Looks so nice. To have a fun little swirl and a really beautiful detailed bail to then string your leather cord or copper chain through. What we could also do from here on is to add some special little beading detail or even adding an extra wire with some swirls. There's quite a few options that you could do from here if you want your piece to be a bit more detailed. Alright, so you can be finished right here and have a perfectly beautiful, simpler pendant, or you can follow along with me and dress it up a little bit more. I went ahead and grabbed some of my crystal beads. These are my 2mm crystal beads from Cherry Tree Beads, and I went ahead and grabbed these ones because I feel like they complement these inclusions in this stone very well. By the way, this is a Fancy Jasper. Love Fancy Jasper. It's such a beautiful stone. Has so many colors in it. These actually even come in like reds and purples and golds. There's like some gorgeous variations. I liked this green one, especially with copper. Alright, so we're going to add a little bit more to this. I'm going to use a 6-inch piece of 20 gauge, same as we used for our bail. Or a little bit more than 6 inches. I always cut a tiny bit more than I think I need because it'd be so much better to have a little bit too much wire than not enough. And I'm going to try this out and see if we can add some beads to the front. I think it will look really nice. And it's always so much harder to do anything in front of a camera. I promise I know how to string beads. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Let's see how many we need. We might not need this many. But I want to bring them across the front here like this. Alright, and I'm going to have them in the center and kind of curve it around and see what I think here. Yes, I think I like that amount. All right, so very gently, because we do have crystal beads here and we don't want to bust them, bending the wire around our frame here, following the curve of our design. That looks quite nice. I have it a little off-center just to follow what we have going on here. I like this one tucked into this little nook here. Make sure we stay centered. I'll keep my finger there. And I'm just going to bring it around the back and do what we did, very similar to the front, by crisscrossing the wires, holding them there, and doing that same twist. This helps to really secure what we have going on. And I'm just going to keep following. And just like that, we want to make sure that we have it nice and tight as well, so that our front area is nice and secure. This is something new that I've never done before, so we're learning together. All right. Bringing it around again to make it look beautiful and to also just tighten it up a little bit. All right. I want to actually bring it through the bail to make it a bit more secure. So I'm going through the bail and down. If you can see right there, I'm trying to tuck the wire down and through. And it's working. Down and through. And I'm going to pull it tight. Always holding this with my thumb so that it stays nice and secure. And still holding the front of the design as well. Like that. I'm going to bring the other side through as well. Coming down and through. Holding the front and this back with my pointer finger and thumb so that nothing gets messed up. Alright, pulling that nice and secure. We're going to end up having a double-sided pendant here, which was not my original intent, but then, just like what I said, you have to be ready to be flexible when you're wire wrapping. You can actually come up with something really beautiful. All right. Really, you have total creative freedom to end here. The pendant is nice and secure. We've got these beautiful beads across the front. I'm just wanting to push them into a better spot with my fingers. You want to be very careful while you're doing this. Don't do anything too quickly or too roughly because you don't want to break any of these beads. But that actually turned out quite nice. I think I'm going to tuck this wire in, so I need to clip it. We're just going to tuck it up, whoops, up inside. Make sure that's nice and secure. And you can also just squeeze it down there as well to make sure that that's nice and secure. That. And then we can take this wire. I'm just going to do a little swirl like that. Try to straighten that wire out. And put a cute little swirl there. And then, oh, it disappeared. There we go. And tuck that in. It's kind of fun because you never know how these pendants are going to turn out. I'm just going to tuck this wire back in here as well. Again, being very careful when you're squeezing that because you don't want to put any nicks or scratches in the wire. That swirl didn't show up quite as much as I wanted it to, but it still looks pretty. The back of the pendant is quite nice as well, and here we are with some fun little beads we added to the front. Let me know down in the comments, did you prefer the design with or without these fun little added beads? Do you like more minimal design, or do you like to have fun little crystal additions? Thanks so much for coming along with me today and learning something new. We both did, actually. It's always fun to just kind of learn as you go. We've got a fluffy here. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos of mine, and leave some comments if you have anything specific that you want to learn in some of these next videos.